Hey y'all, this is Moni.
And this is Kat.
Hey Kat.
And this is the Fake
Ass Book Club. Wait, can we both say it or no?
Hey, what's up, guys? This is your girl, Moni.
And this is Kat.
Hey, Kat, you look lovely.
As do you.
Thank you. I feel refreshed.
Me too.
Do you, girl?
Easy breezy, beautiful day.
Yes, absolutely. Living life, winning, doing all the things perfectly. Welcome back, you guys. This is the place where, we have this book club and it's fake, but we have some real talk for y'all today. So I'm excited to be
And
here
a real book.
because yes, that's what I was gonna say, bro. We have a real book. Like we were nailing it this week, you guys. So we are finally back with some of that good content. Actually we have that all the time, but it feels good not to be super fake, I guess. You know what I mean? Feels
It
kind of good like
does.
that. Yeah. So with that in mind, you guys, I want to introduce the book that we're going to talk about today, which is Mexican Gothic. This book is in honor of Hispanic Heritage Month or Latinx Heritage Month. I want to be respectful, so I'm going to say both. And I'm going to give you a little something about this book today, you guys. So, Mexican Gothic is a 2020 Gothic horror novel by Mexican Canadian author Sylvia Moreno Garcia. It centers on a young woman investigating her cousin's claims that her husband is trying to murder her.
Dun dun dun.
Wow, that's not good.
God.
That is not good. So,
Like the murders.
yeah, and I feel like this book is perfect because we've got Halloween coming up. And like I mentioned, it's Hispanic Heritage Month. So I'm really delighted to be featuring an author from a different background and kind of getting some narratives in from that perspective. So, and this is a genre we've not really even jumped into either. Like horror, that's not really my gig usually.
No.
So I can't wait to really kind of dive in and talk about this book, friend. This is exciting news. Are you as excited as I am?
I have no way of proving that empirically.
Ah.
I'm gonna say yes.
Okay, excellent. Well, I think it's probably right to just go ahead and start our dedication before we sort of get into things. So, guys, hands over your hearts. All right, guys. So it's that time again. We're going to dedicate this episode. I want to thank you guys for joining us. You guys are our faves, and I am extremely excited to have you guys back again. Thank you so much for all of your support. Also, we want to give you the opportunity right now, guys. If you have a small business, if you have products you want to sell, you guys, this is a fantastic opportunity for us to promote you and your business. We want to support you. So let us know. Reach out to us at thefabpodcast@gmail.com. Let us know so we can shout you guys out. And also, I just want to shout out all of the indigenous people of the world, including our Latinx brothers and sisters. Shout out to you guys for the culture and for all of the color and light and love you bring to everything. So, what about you, friend?
Yes, and to your dedication. I want to dedicate this episode to my father. This episode is actually going to air on his birthday. And he is a constant inspiration in my life, even though he's passed years ago. I think about him every day. I carry him with me, and I hope I'm making him proud.
Oh, that is so nice, friend.
Dedication over.
Okay, dedication over. That is beautiful. I love that. Your dad was the bomb.
He was. He
.com.
really was. So,
Yeah.
and one of my favorite Cola Booth quotes is, "If my father dies, I give birth to him again." And I certainly did.
Yeah, you did. That dude looks just like your daddy.
He really does.
And their birthdays are really close, which is also interesting.
They are, and they both really take care of me. So, yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Let the circle be unbroken.
Very nice. Okay, friend. Well, I mean, I guess it's time to kind of get into it. So I gave you guys kind of a little bit about the book. And you know what? I don't think I even have. So this is like I was saying before, you guys. This book is definitely a little bit different from what we've reviewed in the past. It's definitely fallen under kind of science fiction, which we have done some of that, but fantasy, also historical fiction, I'd say. And the one of the descriptions I liked was it's Lovecraft meets the Brontes in Latin America. And I thought that was really dope because really it was that. So I don't know if you have a little bit about the author. I have a little blurb about her.
I'm gonna let you take it.
Okay, cool. So, you guys, about the author of this book, we have Sylvia Moreno Garcia, and she's the author of several novels, including Velvet, Was the Night, Mexican Gothic, which is the book we're reviewing today, Gods of Jade, and Shadow and Untamed Shore. She has also edited a number of anthologies, including the World Fantasy Award winning She Walks in Shadows and Mexican by Birth, Canadian by inclination. And that was something I found on Goodreads. So she is a very accomplished author. I mean, I didn't realize how many books she had read. I mean, I'm sure she's read bunches, written herself. And so I was really excited to like dive into some of her work. So I don't know. Where do you want to start, friend? Do you want to do a little synopsis of the book or what? What are we doing
Okay,
here?
so I feel like we don't do this enough, which is like we spoil everything we review.
Thank you.
So no coming into this, like this is basically if you go to a dinner party and people are like, "Have you read?" Da, da, da. And I'm like, "Yes, I was really struck by all the like visual imagery that was painted by the author." So yeah, that's the stuff we're going to give you with this. So
That's
point by
fair.
point breakdown, I do have to agree, like this isn't what we regularly do for when it's fiction. We usually do like a lot of biographical memoirs and stuff like that. We're gonna start this story starts with our protagonist Noami, and which was funny because even though this is like taking place in Mexico and so we're thinking more Spanish, Noami means like no friend, and if you put it in French.
Oh,
Like,
really?
yeah, no, I
No,
mean,
ami. Oh, which kinda
yeah,
hit.
which was kind of interesting. Every time I heard it, I was just like,
Right.
no friend, interesting.
Huh.
But anyway, she gets a mysterious letter from like her favorite cousin who had just gotten married, and she's going to visit her cousin who's supposed to have tuberculosis, but she suspects something else is going on. And when she gets there, there's all this creepiness. Imagine the house from Beauty and the Beast. Like, to me, whenever she was describing what the mansion looked like, I was picturing the Beast mansion from Beauty and the Beast, or maybe like a Scooby-Doo house or something. It's like this takes place in like is it the 1950s?
The 1950s Mexico City.
Yeah.
Definitely a
Well,
period piece.
this is in like the outskirts of Mexico City. Like she's from Mexico City, but they're like in this small little town, this little village, and she goes to High Place. This is the place her cousin, Katy, what was it? Kate? Listen.
I'm just gonna let you struggle.
Oh my gosh, this is why you need notes.
Oh
anyway,
my
her
gosh.
cousin. We'll call her Prima.
Okay,
Because
yeah.
that's the
Prima,
Mexican
yeah.
word. I've always liked that better than the word cousin. Her favorite cousin, her Prima, has moved to High Place with her husband, Virgil. And so he's this like I imagined him looking like a super hot vampire. He's like, kind of blonde, blue eyes. His family's super weird and like kind of they're cloistered, like they're just so like stuck in this in High Place in this little mansion. They don't interact with the townspeople. She gets there, she's like, my cousin's acting weird. They have a doctor on the premise. I want to bring in my own doctor. Everybody is there's just this general weirdness, and so it does feel a lot like if you've watched Lovecraft Country on HBO, you know the feeling where it's like, okay, are y'all all witches? What is going on? Like, why is everybody being weird? Like, why am I the only normal one? So come to find out, like her cousin is, oh man, it's so long. Like, I don't know what to even skip to. Like, long story short, turns out everyone's being mind controlled by this fungus that's growing in the house. So like it's almost like a ghost story, but instead of there being a poltergeist or like an evil spirit, it's literally a fungus like that has like it's a symbiotic mushroom, and there's like it's the Doyle, who is the patriarch of the
Doyle,
family.
yeah. Well,
You start
that's the last name. I think they're the Doyles, right? Or
Yeah,
no?
they're the Doyles, the original
Okay.
OG Doyle. That's what I
Yeah.
call him. Like
Okay.
he's the guy from like who came over in the colonial times, because there's a heavy amount of colonialism in this too. So
Mhm.
I love the fact that this is from the point of view of Mexico. Like we don't learn a lot of Mexican history. At least I
Yeah.
did in school. So they kept referencing the revolution. I'm like, I really know very little about the Mexican Revolution. And so, because that was the thing too. The Doyles, this rich hoity-toity family that Prima has married into, they made their money off of silver mines. So they
Yeah.
basically turned this place into a mining town. And so, but they had to shut the mines down after first after there was this tragic event where one of the Doyles like killed a bunch of people in her family and then killed herself. That was Ruth. And then after that, the mines flooded because there weren't enough workers, and then they had to shut it down because of the revolution. So it's this the house is in disrepair. So anyway, long story short, she figures out what's going on, but not in time for her to be able to save herself. Because what happens is once the fungus gets into you, it won't let you leave the house. So basically, they got to fight their way out of it. Her and Prima end up making it out along with one of the Doyle family members she's able to save, and like kind of ends up working out. But
Yeah.
in the meantime, though, they have to navigate a lot of eugenics.
It was wild, friend.
It was
So that's what I was saying too. Like the synopsis for this is a lot to just say like all in one breath. So I think it's good to break it down into pieces. So the reason why Noemi's even there is because she's basically a socialite. Like her family's super rich, and so is Catalina, which is her cousin. I just pulled that up. And her dad is sending her there because she sent this weird ass letter that's like basically incoherent and it's unlike her. So that was kind of like the little suspicion that sent her on the trip anyway. And part of it was the dad was kind of bribing her. Like she wants to get her master's degree, like her higher educate. She wants to be educated. She wants to before she gets married and stuff. And he thinks she's just like this party girl and doesn't really. He's like, look, I need you to get married and basically like take your place in society. And the reason why I'm mentioning this is because I really like that the main character is not there's layers to it, right? Like, she's this beautiful woman, but she's also really smart and she wants to be educated, but also she enjoys partying and hanging out. And, I just feel like a lot of the time, you get these heroines in our books who, like their ultimate goal is to find love and to get married. And it's like, that's fun and everything, but she has other goals outside of that. And so I liked that.
I do
And
too.
yeah, like I really, really liked that part of it. And then, once she gets there and like you're saying, she figures out like this shit is kind of weird. You know what I mean? And the one cousin, I feel like, what was his name? It wasn't
Francis.
Was it Francis? No, Francis I think was a lady, right? Or no, Francis is right. Francis is
Florence.
Florence I think was the mom figure, who basically, was like really mean and stuff and kind of looked down on her and, kind of like basically put the rules down. Yeah, like, bitch, you don't get to do stuff. You don't get to smoke cigarettes in this house. You don't get to go nowhere without. Yes, you have to have somebody accompanying you and blah, 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 and whatever. And, once she gets there, it was really weird too because they kept her away from her cousin. So she couldn't really be in front of her a lot. And then when she did, it was like, I don't know, like it was kind of weird and stuff like that.
There's always somebody around.
Yeah, like there was always the servants around and all this kind of stuff. So it was very much, there was always this like cloud of suspense kind of hanging over, like, well, what the hell is going on? Like, this is super weird. And then when you figure out that it is the house, she starts having like these dreams and stuff where it's like the house is talking to her in a way. And I guess it's because like she's saying about the symbiotic relationship, like the spores and stuff from the mushrooms, it's in the air. And so like you're inhaling this and it's kind of putting you in a dreamlike state, and not causing you to hallucinate exactly, because you are actually experiencing these things, but you think it's a dream. So she's actually having like conversations with, like, she ended up being, there was a sequence where she was in a dream state, and she got to talk with Ruth, who was the one who ended up murdering like all of her
She
family
tried
and
to
stuff.
marry the original Doyle patriarch.
Yes, and it was very incestuous, like, to
Uh-huh.
try to keep bloodlines. So, like, you talk about eugenics, I mean, that through line was really weird and gross
Well,
because
can I go back to something you just said,
please.
though?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, like, when you talked about how the fungus was, like, communicating with them
Mhm.
and the symbiosis and stuff, because
Yes.
I like to bring up the microbiome, the
Yeah,
intestinal
yeah,
microbiome.
you do. Imma let you have it. Yep, yep,
And
yep.
so to me, I was like, wow, they're really kind of honing in on this idea of the way that um like plants and the microbiomes interact with that and how we communicate with it. Like
Yeah.
that's why when we did the um what was the episode we did about mushrooms?
Oh,
How
yeah,
to
Michael Pollan's book,
Yeah, How to Change Your
How
Mind.
to Change Your
And he was just
Mind.
talking about our interaction with the plants around us and how that communicates. And I mean, she was literally talking to the ancestors through these plants, and
Super
I
dope.
think it all like plays in together. So to me, that was really fascinating.
It was well written. I wanna say kudos to the author for that too, because I'm sure there was some research that went into that. Because, like you mentioned, we did have a book where we kinda talked about that and how, like, there's this network of communication that even mushrooms have with each other, and not just mushrooms, but, like, the trees and stuff, like, under, um, like, the mycelium, like, the part of the
Hmm.
mushroom that actually communicates and stuff, like, they kinda get into all of that, and there was this kinda part too where she would injure herself, and then, like, all of a sudden, it would be healed, and I even was reading up on some stuff that was like, depending on how you prepare certain mushrooms, it's known for, like, its wound healing,
Well,
and
let's
I
take
thought,
it back
"Wow,
to
that's pretty dope."
the Doyle patriarch because this
Let's
all
do it.
started
He
because
was
he found about
disgusting.
this healing. Well, because she gets a vision of how this originally started, which is Doyle. If you're
Okay.
unfamiliar with the colonization of what we're calling North and South America now, when the European settlers came over here, like what we're calling Mexico now was settled by the Spanish. But the Doyles are actually an English family who came
Mhm.
in and were like, we're superior, we're setting up a mine. And so when he was learning about the plant medicine that the indigenous people had, he learned about this fungus that could heal you and possibly extend your life. So he decided to use it to make himself immortal, basically, which is very similar to the plot in Lovecraft Country, where they're basically trying to, use other people's bodies and lives to extend their own. So, like, they would cannibalize their children sometimes.
Oh
Like, it
my
was all
god.
this really sick stuff. And I noticed, like, in a lot of literature, in movies, media, the bad guy is the person who's trying to live forever. Like, it's usually
Always.
the person who will not accept their inevitable death.
Mhm.
It's someone who's just like, "No, me, so important, forever, forever." It's like, "Nah, like, get in the ground, it's
No,
your
bitch.
turn."
Thank
Like
you. Be the soil, bitch. Like, at some point,
right.
you gotta play your part, 3 stacks, you know what I'm saying? So, that's just how that shit goes.
Real
You're
talk.
not, yeah, like, and it was interesting to me too because, I think his name was Howard, and it was like she described how
Yeah.
he looked, like, her describing how he looked,
Let's talk
like,
about how gross that was.
like, the pustules and whatnot, like, I have to say that the way that she described a lot of things in this book were so.
I wanna see this movie.
Yo, it was like, yuck. I actually don't wanna see his skin, like, his pustules
Or when
bursting
his
forward
friend
and
starts
having,
to
like,
melt.
ugh, the
That was
black.
the worst part.
Yo, I cannot. I was like, "This is disgusting." Like, yeah, I was grossed out by the descriptions, but that just let me know she was doing her job well
Yeah,
because I was like, "This
I
is
felt
really, really
things.
nasty." Yeah, but Howard, I think she said the lady who, not the lady, but the, Howard, his name was based on, who was I looking up the other day? You were like, um, what's Lovecraft's first name? Is it Howard?
HP? I just know it's
I
HP.
think it's Howard. I wanna say his
Okay.
name is Howard something Lovecraft. She picked his name to be that based on the fact that, like, he was a prolific like this genre was like his gig. Like some of this,
And
he's
he's
known.
also super racist.
Yes, that part.
But
That was also part of it
he
too, and I
was a
thought that was
good sci-fi
interesting.
writer. He was
Yeah,
good at sci-fi and bad
yes.
at other things.
Bad at other stuff. Yeah, so it was kind of a nod to him. I thought, "Oh, that was an interesting take." Um, and then just the end well, okay, so where are we at? So when she finally figures out what's going on, and Francis pretty much confirms to her, like, yeah, like, basically, you can't leave this motherfucker. Like, once you've been breathing the spores, like, the house is not gonna let you go. Like, it like, they can kinda make you do and think and feel things, not,
Hell,
like, overtly, but, they can make you think you're seeing something or make you feel a way, you know what I'm
or stop
saying?
you from breathing. Like she
Or
was
stop you
like,
from breathing.
yeah, when she was trying to leave, like she got short of breath and was past, Virgil had to carry her back or something.
Yeah, man. And I also liked too because her cousin Catalina was trying to get out of it, and that was why the reason why she was air quotes sick or whatever was because she was trying to fight it, and she had a lady in the village who was giving her medicine, like holistic medicine that was kind of
Yeah, little bruja.
blocking, yes, kind of blocking the effects of it. But every time she would take it, it would make her sick or whatever. And come to find out that was kind of one of the ways you could break it. Like if you were taking in um
Tincture.
this tincture or whatever, it would help. And I loved that it wasn't like on some, usually when you think about indigenous people and witch doctors or, holistic medicine, they're always like these creepy people who are
So
they're
evil.
never the good guys. Like it's
No.
always on some more weird shit. So I liked that we kind of got to reframe that
Yeah, that was
in
great.
this
And the fact
story.
that the doctor was like, man, she be helping people.
She be
Like,
helping people. Like, I can't even hold you up. Like,
I can't
actually,
even knock it.
yeah, she didn't give her because they told her I think her cousin had a seizure or something when she gave her the medicine. So she
The
felt
drugs.
bad because
Yeah.
she thought something was going on. And come to find out, like, obviously her body was just fighting off, being exposed to that fungus for so long and stuff. But I think they told her it was something like, what's the stuff people be getting high off now and falling out off of? What's the shit everybody likes to get high off of? Not
Fentanyl?
fentanyl. Yeah, that's one. It ain't that. It's something, but it was like something that you would hear about now that it was like, yeah, no, she wasn't giving her that particular drug.
Oh,
Like
you're
it's
talking about
just
opium.
opium or something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I guess people don't know we doing opium now.
Opiates,
Thank you.
for sure.
Yeah. Derivatives and whatnot. Not just straight up opium. But anywho,
Sure.
yeah, I just liked that they weren't demonizing these indigenous people for their plant medicine. I just liked that aspect. I was like, man, that's super dope. Like I feel like she really studied
Well, she laid
a lot of
everything
this.
out so great before she started knocking over the dominoes.
Yes.
Like,
So it was
she
like,
really laid
oh, she was thorough as hell.
yeah, because when because I will say it took a while. Like at first I was like, I don't know if I like this book. I'm like,
Mhm.
they're doing a lot of stuff. And these people are kind of uppity and it's giving like, but she was setting all of that up.
Yeah.
So to me, I was like, I'm like, these people seem racist. And she was like, oh, they are.
You just Well, even the conversation, like when she first met Howard's ass at the dinner table and stuff, I guess you're not supposed to talk or nothing like that at the table. It was all super weird. But he, like, one of the first things he says to her was like, "Oh, you're darker than your cousin." She was like, "And motherfucker, the fuck?" Like, you know what I mean? And then he goes into talking about eugenics, and I just love that she was a mouthy bitch. Like, she was giving you a run for your money. You know what I'm saying? Like, she wasn't backing down. Like, she was very intelligent, very well spoken. I just love to see a heroine who is non-white, who's showing up, who's piping up and, keeping things interesting. And she was fabulous the whole time and still was trying to have a good I really like
She was a
Noemi.
fun character to
She
follow.
really was. She really was.
I was on her side the whole time.
Yes,
Like
definitely.
it was very easy to get in her shoes. Oh wait, okay, so where do we leave off?
So we talked about the mining stuff. So basically, I mean, that's the other point I wanted to make too about him marrying Catalina was because they needed the money because we
Yeah.
talked about their failing mines and all that stuff. So he needed the money and the resources because they came from a well-to-do family. So that was kind of like the reason why. And it was crazy because they thought that Catalina was a good match, but for some reason, like um Noemi, like her biological makeup was very like she was like even more primed to be like a part of their family, and
Yeah,
because
to
it just was like we need to diversify our DNA at this point because it's we don't you can't survive. Like that's the thing about eugenics. It just gets fucking weird. Like
the gene pool gets too
it just
shallow.
it gets too shallow, and it's just like this is
Yeah.
not sustainable. Like you guys are weird, and like your eyes are sunken in now, and
Oh,
people
they kept
don't.
bringing up the Habsburg jaw.
Ugh, yeah, that's a thing. Tell them about that.
The Habsburg jaw, it's,
Ew.
Google it, it's gross. It's basically what happened to the Habsburg line, royal family that just kept inbreeding and inbreeding, and they just kept getting weirder and weirder, and
Ugh,
finally just bred themselves out. Like, they
gross.
weren't able to reproduce anymore because nature is not going for that shit. Like, you cannot you need genetic diversity
You just
to
do, guys.
propagate. So
Ugh.
this idea of like we must keep the genes pure, that's horseshit. Like eugenics is a bunk science that has been disproven. She kept talking about like the frenetic, she's like, I'm sure he has some like frenetic clamps and stuff for measuring skulls and
Yeah.
all that bullshit. You remember that from like Django when he was like, you can tell by the Negroid skull that
Like,
the
fuck out of
it's like,
here.
man, y'all just coming up with any bullshit you can to justify your
Let me
evil.
find my little clamps for your tiny little miniature penis, sir. And let's
There
talk
it
about
is.
that. Okay. But yeah, so I just felt like that was a really good touch because she really kind of got into the eugenics and the like just that whole thing, and just having that whole conversation, and just the need to kind of diversify the bloodline or whatever. And so Frances was the one who she was cool with, right? Because it was Frances, and then there was because she had to end up. And Virgil. Let's talk about
Virgil's
Virgil's bitch ass. He was the one who was married to her cousin, and he kept
he
putting
was
her.
hot though.
He was hot, and he kept trying to. Well, I guess.
Well, they describe him as being attractive. Like he was hot. I mean, but it doesn't mean you're not evil. Like that's why a lot of
I
people are
like that.
able to
They
get
should do
away.
that more. They should do
Well,
that more. Stop
they do
making
that with
people.
vampires. Like that's the thing. Vampires are super hot. That's how they get you. They're just like, hey, I'm super hot and pale. You want to come with me? And it's like, yeah. It's like,
Sure.
yeah, great. I'll just, suck you of all your resources and just, use your existence to benefit me.
Yeah, exactly. That's pretty. But I like the idea of having like attractive, like when the bad because I mean, when you think about stories, a lot of times it's like you find somebody with a handicap, a hunchback, and it's like, you know what? A lot of times these people out here, they be the main ones doing dirt be looking good sometimes.
Super
So
hot people.
super high people get away with a lot of stuff. So just keep
They're
your
having
eyes
a
peeled,
different
people.
experience.
Yeah, definitely. So, but yeah, he was definitely trying to put himself in front of I keep wanting to say Naomi because I'm tired.
It's hard to say her name. You have to Noami.
Noami, the O
Naomi
first.
with the
Yeah.
A and the O switch.
I know, and I thought about this a lot before this, and it doesn't matter now apparently. I'm still fucking it up.
Tell her no.
Right. No.
No.
She
Don't go in there. No.
Yeah, but he kept putting himself in front of her, like in her
Dreams. Yeah.
Yes, and like trying to get it in with her and stuff, man. So it was
Kept
like
pulling her hair a lot. I know.
yeah, it was like that borderline, like I'm gonna
primal.
choke you a little bit,
Mhm.
and I'm kind of fine, and I'm gonna be able to get away with it. Because then it was messed up because she was like, I kind of liked it, but I knew like
But
it felt
did she
fucked up.
though?
Well, I don't. Well, yeah, she did.
But
a
I
little
mean,
bit.
how much was the compulsion of because they called the fungus the gloom. So how much was it the influence and how much because was she really that into him
I
before
don't
she
think
started
I don't think she was
breathing in the
into
stuff?
him. No,
Yeah,
probably
like
not.
I feel like it wasn't really that. I think it was the influence of the house and the gloom.
But this reminds me of the Owen Collie too when we talked about
Yes.
yeah.
Say that.
So when we were talking about Octavia Butler's book, which was
Dawn.
Dawn. That's what I was gonna say. Thank you. That was on the tip of my tongue. But yeah, it was kind of the same thing where it's like, I mean, that just makes me think like how much of your experience is really real. Because I mean, we talk about love being a chemical con job, right? Like technically it's just chemical reactions happening inside of your brain. So how much different is it? Like if you're having the same chemicals that can recreate a pleasurable feeling in your brain, like what's real and what's not then? You know what I'm saying? Like if you can manipulate a person's brain with chemicals to make them feel something, like it's real to them in that moment. I'm not saying that it's produced from, I guess the difference would be maybe just it's not organic in the sense of
It's just not ethical.
right. It's definitely unethical,
Yeah.
but like the pleasure that you experience
The
in that
pleasure's
is still
real.
there. That's real. That's
The
all I'm saying.
pleasure's
Yeah.
real, but since you're supplanting someone's autonomy,
That's fucked up.
that's why it's dicey. So it kind
Yeah.
of doesn't matter that it feels good, and so you can justify it. It's like, well, it felt good to them. It's like, no, but you're
No.
supplanting
Well, that's
their.
why it's still molestation if you know what I'm saying? Like, even if you're like 13 and the lady's like, 21, it's like, yeah, I'm sure it felt great, but it's like, that's not cool.
It's not.
You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not cool. So yes, I won't argue that point, but she even kind of was talking about that in the book, being like she hated that she was feeling like that because she didn't naturally feel like that toward him, and she was like, damn
Right.
it. And he was like, this is in you, bitch. I see it in you. It's like, man, everybody can be.
Anyone can turn that switch on.
Yeah, exactly.
But like
So,
in real, because really, it is interesting how she wrote it. Because in the beginning, she did not like that dude
at all.
at all. Like he had
Mm-mm.
no charm for her at all. And then all of a sudden, it was like, oh, huh.
Yeah, all
Like,
of a sudden, these spores are, yeah.
Yes, it was super sick. So wait, where did we leave off?
Okay, so then she ends up being able to figure out kind of like what has been going on, because he tells her, not Virgil, what's his name? Damn it. Francis ends up telling her the whole thing. Like, yes, basically the mushrooms control this whole shit. You know what I'm saying? And we can't get out of here. Cause he was kind of sympathetic, but he also was like the least favorite son.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So he was sort of disposable, but he was kind of like just going along with things. So he felt some sympathy toward, because they kind of liked each other. They kind of like described him as homely and stuff, but I think she liked him because it was a genuine sort of interaction that she was having with him, which was a little different for her. And
I think too, because he was sort of the rejected son. Because I've always had this, because this whole thing was sort of a metaphor about colonization and the imperialists coming in to take over the noble savages or whatever.
of
But like
course,
I noticed like in my own life that people who were calling white, who tend to be more sympathetic to the plight of Black people, are usually the least favorite child of their parents. So they're able to
Ooh.
recognize the behavior, or it's like, yeah, you don't get recognized for the things you do. They want to credit things that you've done to the favored child. You're not given as much money. There's all these parallels. So they're able to recognize the pattern. So they're really able to be like, oh, yeah, that's just happening on a systematic,
a greater scale. Yeah.
I see it. Whereas people who are the favorite are like, no, everything's awesome for me because I'm awesome.
Right. It's like, duh, hello. Have you seen me? Have we met? Okay. Yeah, absolutely. So basically there comes a point where they're planning to get the fuck out of there. They get some more of that tincture. And she plans on taking it little by little so that the influence isn't as strong. And I want to say, didn't the guy come to her in a dream and basically try to slide on her again? Because he basically was like, I knew what you were gonna do this whole time.
Yeah, Virgil.
Yeah, and
He tries to rape her.
And basically tries to rape her, and then she knocks his ass out. And I think she had like a razor blade or something under her mattress, something like that.
Great razor.
Yeah, so she ends up leaving and grabbing her cousin and trying to and they're trying to escape through this back way and stuff, and they end up going through this crypt where they keep this. I don't even know how to fucking describe it. Yeah, it's Ruth.
You'd have to get the whole idea of what it is. Basically, it's her preserved corpse, like semi-preserved corpse. It's like a combination of her corpse and the mushrooms.
And here's what's interesting, because mushrooms literally produce, like, they break down, they compost things.
Mm-hmm.
So I just thought that was kind of interesting that like she wasn't broken down all the way, but it was able to kind of like preserve her in a way because that's what mushrooms do.
Kind of like
Like
the
fungus do.
dude from, remember that thing from Pirates of the Caribbean? Was it Davy Jones? Where
Ew,
he
he
like,
was disgusting.
yeah, but that's what I kind of pictured a little bit, except instead of like all blue, it was all yellow.
Yeah, that's really gross. Yeah. I just pictured like, I don't know, like from a video game I used to play a long time ago called Contra. This is so obscure. But it was like you
It
get to
really
the
is. Contra is a classic and a
Is that
legend.
a classic game?
Yes.
That game was so much fun. That was like one of the only games I ever played. Anyway, but it was like you get to the end and it was like this heart. Like like the whole thing, it was like this heart thing that was like inside and you had to like shoot it. And it was like, this is, I don't know, it just felt like it was like this heart kind of like pumping
That was the
through.
heart of the house.
Yeah, the heart of the house or whatever. And it was Ruth and it was kind of fucked up
And it was
because
like yellow because she used a lot of imagery throughout the whole book where you kind of knew, because I knew something was up every time she said something was golden or yellow.
yeah, like
She
a
said it
golden
one
flecks
time,
in people's
yeah,
eyes
and
or
stuff. And I was like, that's what that's something right there.
yeah, man. So then what happened? So they're in there.
They just set that bitch on fire.
They
and
did
get the-
because our boy came in there again after he got knocked out, and then they
Yeah.
were able to set it fire. They got out of there, man.
Yeah.
And at the end, it was basically like she was like, "You got to come back to Mexico City with me." Like he was, Francis was in the hospital, yeah, like for I don't know, a couple days and stuff, and she wanted him to go with them. And I thought I wouldn't have taken him with me. I don't think.
Really?
I don't know. I'd have been scared.
Oh.
Yo, is it in your blood? Is it in your blood? Is it in
So,
your
I
body? Like I'm
about
not.
that. Like it's never gonna be completely out because she was afraid to go to sleep.
Right, because she was
He
scared.
was having dreams about it, and he was telling her about his dreams, and she was like, "I don't want to hear that shit." And she was like, "Those are dreams; it can't hurt us." And he was like, "Well,
Why
bitch,
ain't you been to
go
sleep, bitch?
And
Yes.
she was like, "I ain't tired."
You a lie. And I think, yeah, I'm just one of those people that I'm just gonna face the reality of like, yeah, the probability that your ass is still has pieces of that. I mean, it's in you. It's who you are. You've been eating dead body mushroom
That's
flesh.
A metaphor. Like, because no matter what, like, because that's how colonization works.
Yeah. So I want to walk away from it, though. I don't want to take it with me.
But even if you take yourself out of it, it's still
inside you. Yeah.
Like it takes so much work to fight against it. Because if you relax, it'll just take over. I put in my notes.
Damn.
It's this historic and genetic legacy.
Yeah.
That is like just in us. So really every time I look in the mirror, I see it. Like I'm an evidence of this sort of eugenic practice of America where all the rapes add up. Because at a certain part in my family tree, we stopped talking about stuff because it's just a series of rapes.
First of all, I'm sorry. That's not funny, but
take a real quick break, folks. We'll be right back. Moni cracks up and my family's series of rapes.
I'm just saying, I don't know why that sounded funny. It was like, it's just a series of okay, I don't have to keep saying it, but y'all know what she said. Y'all heard her.
For serious though.
Okay.
Like
I'm sorry.
And that's just at a certain point, because I think about that all the time. Like when I'm looking at my veins, like there's some white man's blood running through my veins. And sometimes it's like
but to like assure him that you think you can overcome together the potential issue that perhaps, like, I just feel like that's a little naive, like what you're saying. It's just in us. And so, I mean, would you have accepted that shit? You would have kept him with you?
I would have felt the compulsion to help him, because in helping him, I would be helping myself, because it's in her too. Like, that's the thing. They both
so now it can multiply.
No, whatever they need to do to get past it or heal it, they're both going to need it. So why not? There's an African proverb. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. You know what I mean? Like,
no, I don't know. I'd have been nervous. I mean, I feel you. I hear you and Butu and all that. But also, I'm scared because you were like, I mean, like, honestly, I was there by proximity.
Fear is the mind killer.
Yeah.
You can't be controlled by fear. I would be afraid, yes. Like, I wouldn't
I'm
necessarily
not
move in with
brave. I
him
never said that.
in love now, but I wouldn't completely cut him off.
Well, I didn't
I'd
say
be
that.
like,
I'm just saying I'm not inviting you back to Mexico City, my dude. I mean, we can't just be
"Where else is
friends.
he gonna
I
go?"
don't know. How's that my problem?
It's not anybody's problem. I think
I don't
that
know. I don't even know what I'm doing myself. I can't be making these life choices for you and me right now. Like right now, bitch, I'm not married. I don't know that I'm obligated to figure that out for you. We
wait,
can be
weren't they
pen
married? Didn't
pals.
they get married though?
Man, fuck that. That don't count. Didn't nobody didn't
Yeah,
nobody see that
the
bullshit?
world.
Yeah, everybody who saw that shit got burned up. So you can't prove that. And he ain't about
Katya
to
was
enforce it. She seemed pretty tough. Like she could probably punch him in the nose. What's he gonna do? Like, you inbred, you weak as fuck. Like, what are you getting ready to do?
there. He was described as very frail.
Yeah. So
Damn, poor Francis. Sorry, Francis.
I'm just saying, Francis.
I think that, especially
They
since
were
he helped
trauma
them
bonding,
date,
and
that
I'm
doesn't
just
give
saying
him
I
any
don't know if
point.
that's healthy. I'm just saying y'all are trauma bonding though. Like I think under any normal circumstances, she wouldn't be checking for this dude, and just because.
Yeah, like of course not, but this isn't normal circumstances.
Exactly. So I want to try to get back to that though. I don't want to be
I'm not
trauma bonded to
I'm not
somebody.
saying bond. I'm not saying get together. I'm just saying like,
We can be
hey, let me
friends.
show you, because he's also been like sequestered from the world. Like he's going to need someone to be like, this is how money works. This is how going to the post office works. This is how,
Oh
like,
man,
he's been so
that's true.
he's
He
been in
was
a cult.
nice.
And I always have so much
Okay.
sympathy for people who are like who've been in cults. I'm like, yeah, you're going to need help.
Yeah,
Like I'm here for it. Can I say too? This reminded me, because that was pretty much the end. That's how it
that's
ended.
at the end.
And I wanted to bring up when I was reading this, and when they finally, because it starts, you feel like this is like a Scooby episode of Scooby Doo. Like it's like, oh, there's ghosts. This house is
Right.
haunted. But the fact that they grounded in material, like scientific, an explanation for the phenomenon that's going on. Like it wasn't magic, it wasn't ghosts, it
It was
was
some science.
fucking
Yeah.
germs, or not
Yeah.
germs, but
Spores.
pathogens, fungus, and stuff like
Spores and
that.
shit.
And it reminded me of an episode of Star Trek. Not
Oh.
any specific episode, but pretty much there's so many episodes that are like this in Star Trek. Where did I say Star Wars or Star Trek? I'm so tired.
I don't know. Both.
Okay, so it reminded me of Star Trek, because there'd be so many episodes where something crazy would be going on, and the people on the planet the Enterprise was visiting would think it was like some sort of supernatural force, but then the Enterprise would figure out it was really like some aliens fucking with everybody.
Right.
So like it was just like, oh no, there's a rational explanation for this. So I liked that theme too, where it was like, no, we can actually solve this with rational, logical action
Yeah.
and solve our problem. Because every time, because that would happen, like there'd be some like mist that was possessing everybody on the Enterprise. So that's
Like,
how
what was that shit? Right.
and that was something and also the snakes. Oh, because this is how I knew they were incest people. Because there were so many hints. Like when they finally had that big reveal, I was like, I knew it. Because there was a lot of things that reminded me of Edgar Allan Poe's short story, The Fall of the House of Usher.
Never seen that. Never heard of it.
Okay, so it's a lot. I don't know if it's a poem or a short story. I can't remember, but I remember reading it in school, and it was this super creepy book about this creepy old house that falls in on itself, and like the family in it had been like inbreeding and stuff like that forever. So like while I was reading this book, I don't know exactly what it was, but so much of it reminded me of that story that when the incest part was revealed, I was like, yeah, I thought so. And the snake eating its tail, I felt was kind of an indication of that.
Yeah. That was just it was just really gross. There was a lot of really gross. It was gross. It was a lot of grossness. But it was still really good though. Just a really, really good book, you guys.
Highly
Like I
recommend.
really enjoyed it.
More symbolism, because they keep describing how damp and wet the house is and misty everything is, like when Noami gets there. But she's sort of the fire element. She wears a lot of red. She smokes, because that was the thing they kept telling her. You can't smoke in the house. You can't smoke in the house. Because if you know anything about like, fungus and stuff, it likes damp. Like you come in with all this fire and all this dryness, it's not going to like that.
Mm-hmm.
So
That was pretty dope.
I was like immediately like, yeah, she needs to smoke more.
And it was funny how she wasn't inclined to when she had been there for a while, just because of the influence
Right.
over, her being exposed to it. So it was just really smart. Like I liked everything about it. It was, like you said, it was a lot of building up to, because this was what, like about a 10 hour, 10 and a half
Mm-hmm.
hour,
10-hour
audiobook.
audiobook. Yeah, we listened
So
to it. I listened to it
yeah,
anyway.
I listened to it, which was fabulous. And yeah, it was just, I don't know, I enjoyed it. I thought it was really, really good. And so well done. I'm looking forward to reading more books from Sylvia Moreno Garcia. The cover art is really beautiful too.
Beautiful.
And I'm like, yes, I'm here for
She
it.
just was
So
really good at
kudos.
describing the style, because it was a very
Yo,
stylish
yes,
period.
it
So when she was
was.
describing the fashion, the makeup, even when she
Mhm.
described Virgil, in one scene where Noami said he looked like a Caravaggio painting, which was
You were
really,
like,
really,
ah.
yeah, I was like, that was I was like, ooh, she got me.
It's like, I know exactly what you're talking about
I
right
know
now.
exactly. I'm right there.
Yeah, man. It was really,
So
really
what would
cool.
you rate it?
You know what? If I had to rate this book, I'd probably give it 5 golden mushrooms, I guess.
Damn it, that's what I was gonna say.
I'm glad you gave it
5
to
out of
me
5
first.
golden mushrooms. For
I can
sure.
give it something else. I give it, if I have to give it something different, just so we can have 2 different things, I would give
Why
it.
can't we be the same? We can be the same.
Okay, well, I'm gonna throw another one out there just for
Okay.
diversity's sake, because we just talked about how like too much of the same can be a problem.
Yeah,
But
you're right.
I would give it red lipstick. I would give it maybe
Oh,
yeah, 5 red sticks of really beautiful lipstick. Did that
okay.
make
Five
sense? What I
lip
just said? I don't
prints.
even. Yes, those.
Lip prints.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, 5 of them.
Read
Hot
it,
red
buy
ones.
it.
Do it, you guys. It was super, super good. I really enjoyed it. So yeah, we spoiled that shit for you guys. But still, I mean, we still left stuff out. There were still other parts in it. And the descriptions in it, you guys, are so, I mean, it's so detailed that you feel like you're right there. So what a treat. You guys are
It
really
truly was.
yeah, man. So you know what? We're gonna take a quick break. And then we'll come back, okay? Hold tight. Oh wow. 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 Hey guys, welcome back from the break. Oh my gosh. That was smooth.
It was.
So smooth, just like a cigarette.
Mhm.
Actually, cigarettes are not smooth.
They
Make you
are.
cough. Don't smoke cigarettes.
Yeah, only use them to burn down incestuous fungal houses.
That's right. That's the only time it's called for.
Mhm.
So, now that we cleared that up, you guys, I guess we should probably let's get into the Stranger Than Fiction story, friend. What do you think?
I'm into it.
All right, cool. Man, that is not Stranger Than Fiction. That gets on my nerves. Why is it doing this to me? Wait. Okay. All right. So now I'm turning this up. And then, gosh. All right, guys. So let's get into our Stranger Than Fiction story this week. All right. That was also smooth. Okay, guys. So, we were highlighting authors from it's oh my gosh, why am I saying it like this? It's so late, you guys. It's been a long day. It's Hispanic Heritage Month, and we wanted to highlight an author, which we did, and that was super dope. And so I found this article, and it was talking about how James Patterson, I don't know if you guys are familiar with him. He's a super famous writer. He's, I mean,
A lot of
super well
books to
known.
be
Lots and lots
airport.
and lots and lots. And he's a, he's a white male author or whatever. And so one of the top rated authors of all time, basically, top selling, I should say. And I read this article. This was back in, it was this summer sometime that I found this, in June, actually. And the headline, the reason why I'm mentioning Hispanic Heritage Month and him being white is because James Patterson decided to claim that white male writers face another form of racism. And to me, that just struck me as stranger than fiction, because I'm thinking, like, how, Sway? Like, how though? So the article reads, as James Patterson reflected on the state of writing in the world today, the best-selling thriller novelist with an estimated net worth of roughly $800 million doll hairs lamented how one group in particular is having a hard time finding work: white men. I mean, I just feel like I have to pause right there, because I just don't understand how that's a thing. And what made me want to highlight this too was because we just recently did an episode with Nira Muhammad on her podcast Queen Talks, and it was specific to sort of just the plight of Black writers and creatives and how hard it is for them to get published and to have their stories told and all of this. And so to have somebody who's worth $800 million lamenting about how white men are having a hard time finding work, I just don't understand. So I just thought that was super weird. So it says, in fact, America's richest author noted how white males, specifically older white males, are experiencing what he described as another form of racism when it came to trying to break through as writers in TV, film, theater, and publishing. And so it says, this is in quotes, what's that all about? Can you get a job? Yes. Is it harder? Yes. Patterson, 75, told a British newspaper. It's even harder for older writers. You don't meet very many 50-year-old white males. So, I mean, he got a lot of backlash from this, but I mean, basically, like, when they broke it, yeah, like, what are your thoughts before I keep rambling on this? I mean, like, what are you hearing here? Like,
I'm hearing just I've heard this from white people for most of my life about how, like, it's like we're actually being discriminated against more than, but they just have no idea of history, their place in it, how segregated their lives are. They really don't think there's that many Black or Latinx people. And they're like, oh, we're gonna be the minority. Y'all been the minority. Like, if you think about what was going on, like, the idea that somehow Mexicans and indigenous people are the minority, they are the people from here. Of course, there's going to be more of them. You just have gone out of your way not to count them, or a lot of times you've counted them as white people if they're light enough.
yeah, and
So,
they count
like,
themselves as white people too sometimes, because it's to their advantage to do so.
exactly. So it's insane to me that somehow it's like, because you're not giving instant consideration, you're not the default for leadership, the default for what is considered the best. Like, you're just gonna have to be treated like everyone else, and now all of a sudden it's like, well, no, you don't even know what racism is. Like,
Mhm.
racism cannot be applied to harm white people. The only fact that race exists is so that there can be white people.
Exactly.
So
That's
if
the whole
you have
point.
a problem with that, renounce your whiteness. The only reason whiteness exists is so that there can be races,
Not renounce your
and so
whiteness.
that white can be the top one. But because race is a bullshit concept from eugenics,
Didn't think
like,
about that.
race, the concept of race didn't exist before eugenics. So it's just something we're still using from this bullshit science. We were much better without it. A much better word for, like, the different types of people we see are populations, and that really has
Mhm.
nothing to do with color. You go to any type landmass on the planet, if there's diversity, there's a lot of different colors, and that's not what makes a people. Polynesian people, lots of different colors. African people, lots of different colors. Asian people, lots of different colors. Indian people, lots of different colors. European people, lots of different colors. So this idea that we're going to color code each other and we're all going to stay in these little groups, it's insane. So I would like
Agreed.
to have James Patterson maybe read some books other than his own, which are, like, just,
Right.
like, seriously, like, educate yourself. I know it's very hard, especially at your ripe age, to be
Is
like,
it?
huh, maybe I haven't been given like the idea that somehow it's like actually I'm the oppressed one because I have to learn about different types of people now.
Can you imagine? It's like,
Fuck out of
sir,
here.
yes, you took the words right out of my mouth. And I mean, obviously, like I said, he got a lot of backlash from this and criticism because it's absolutely absurd. And some of the writers were like, he's blatantly ignoring the fact that recent data shows that the publishing industry has been and remains, in quotes, a business that is owned by white men. In a diversity self-audit from Penguin Random House, the publisher found that about 75% of the contributions during that period were white, just 6% were black, while 5 were Hispanic. And that's not a bunch. And so then we've got the company also acknowledged that more than 74% of its employees are white. So it's just like it would, like you said, it just takes a little bit of diving in and saying,
You're
like,
just
let's
freaking out. It's like, oh, all of a sudden
yeah.
there's a black person in my neighborhood.
Yeah.
It's
But he
like,
did
come on, we
listen,
need to build a wall.
not the black people in the neighborhood.
Because seriously, like I live in what was an all white area. That has been slowly desegregated over the years, and yeah, the white people do not like it. Like that's why Trump was so popular in rural America, because they're like, oh, we're being replaced. It's like, first off, ask yourself, why is being white important to you? That's what I would ask people. Like, why is your whiteness important to you?
Well, how would you answer, why is your blackness important to you? Is it?
It's only important to me because of how I'm treated in society. Like, honestly, we've talked about this before on the show. In lots of places in the world, I'm not even considered black. I'd
Right.
be some sort of colored or mulatto.
And you're cool with that because it's like, who cares at the end of the day?
I mean, I'm not even really cool with that. It's like, really, could we not do this? Could we like leave this off the forms? Like, and because it
Right.
speaks to eugenics, because it has much more to do with what I look like. It has everything to do with what I reproduce. So just the reason why you're not considered a white woman, even though you could maybe, like, you are,
I mean,
like,
I'm
just
light.
skin color wise, you might be lighter than what we're considering quote unquote white people. But it's
Calm
because
down.
if you reproduce, you're going to very more than likely produce colored people. You know what I mean?
I did actually.
You did in fact.
Yeah.
So that's
Sure.
what it comes down to. It's not even really what you look like, it's what you're going to reproduce. It all comes down to sex. So, and what in your reproductive possibility, which is how, slave owners would view us. It's like, what are you going to reproduce and how am I going to make money from it?
Yeah. Well, I mean, you're not wrong.
Thank you.
I agree with that.
So
And
yeah, James Patterson,
well, he apologized apparently. So like this
under
was June.
duress.
Of course. I mean, his apology says, I apologize for saying white male writers have trouble finding work is a form of racism. Absolutely do not believe that racism is practiced against white writers. Please know that I strongly support a diversity of voices being heard in literature and Hollywood and everywhere. So, dude, you have over 300 books. You've sold over 400 million copies. Like, how much more? Like, you mean to tell me you don't feel like you could share that space with somebody else? Like, is it really that threatening to you that maybe somebody like the author that we reviewed today, Miss Garcia, her work is pushed forward? Like, these stories are, I mean, and not for nothing, have I read a Patterson book? I don't even, like, what are some of his more notable books that can you think of any of them?
To me, he's kind of like, do you know who Tom Clancy is?
I mean, I've heard his name. I don't
Or
think I've
John
read him.
Grisham.
John Grisham for sure, yeah.
To me, it's in that genre.
Of course, yeah.
So to me, it doesn't really speak to me. So I can't even say if he's a good or bad writer, because I've honestly never read any of his stuff, because it's not like, I'm like, oh my goodness, how is this like white man going to get out of this tense situation? Like, it's not really.
Fear No Evil's one.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, so he's got bunches of books, and I mean,
like I said, these are airport books.
that they are the ones you see at the airport. Also, too, I'm not saying that they're bad. I'm just saying that what's wrong with hearing another perspective, and that's why we're here. Like, yo, you're gonna be at the airport. You're definitely gonna see his books there. We just challenge you guys to, diversify your reading, especially if you're only taking in, white cis male perspectives. Like, there are some other perspectives out there that are worth consuming. So, James Patterson, get your life together, sir. All right. So
I mean, or don't. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Just but seriously, maybe read some other books.
That's the very least
And
you could
quite
do,
honestly,
technically.
the reason we get pissed is because you're a valuable person and we want you on our side. Like, we want you on the side of humanity, not whiteness.
That was our Stranger Than Fiction story, you guys. Oh! My God.
I'm laughing at your frustration.
Oh, rightfully so. I would do the same to you, friend. So you guys,
Oh, Dios mío.
that was fun. I know. I guess now, we kind of have to spin the wheel or something. If I can even pull this off, like at this point, I'm not feeling optimistic about it. Let's see. Wheel spin. There it is. Found it.
Bam, 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 bam.
We're gonna spin that shit.
Woo!
Okay, friends.
So we are going to be reading show favorite LeVar Burton's Aftermath.
Again.
We're gonna really do it this time, guys. I know we've announced it before, but listen, we have a fake ass podcast to do. Do you know what we have to do to get here?
They have no idea. They don't care. Just trust us. It was a lot. Okay, you're just gonna have to take our word for it, just like LeVar Burton. Down. Okay.
And I'm looking forward to it because it's interesting. This will be a nice contrast because we just did some sort of historical fiction.
Ooh.
So this is going to be some sci-fi futuristic stuff.
Ooh, I know.
Well, not sci-fi really, but it's going to be speculative futurism.
So dystopian sort of.
It's
after
very
the world
Octavia
crumbles.
Butler.
Yes. That was a vibe. That was a really good book. I enjoyed that.
Dawn, it was fantastic.
Yeah, Dawn was really, really good. Okay, well, I'm here for it. Hopefully you guys come back and join us, you guys. If you have some books you want us to read, some topics you want us to discuss, you guys, reach out to us. Please hit us up at thefabpodcast@gmail.com. Follow us at the Fab Podcast on Instagram. We have a link tree there. You can stream us wherever. Also be looking out for our Patreon, guys, where it's coming up. You're going to start off with a few bonus items there. And, we want to connect with you guys and we really appreciate your support in advance. So if you want to see our show elevate, if you want to, be a part of picking some of the content that we actually review on the show, please, please, please consider joining our Patreon. You won't be disappointed. So if you like this show, you're going to like the Patreon even more. So
no, if you like the show, you're going to love the Patreon.
Yes, that part. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what I said, kind of. Maybe.
It's like...
It was like I'm losing energy now. It was like...
the bar's going down. I'm at 3%.
Yeah, man. It's right. I'm looking at the bars. The bars are all the way. It's red now. That little piece, the little sliver's red. It's going down, guys. Oh, she's out of the frame. Oh, don't do that. You really might fall asleep, though. Get back up here and close this out like a professional.
Okay.
Get your ass in gear.
Bye.
Okay, bye, guys. Peace.
Before we go, we must give thanks to Urban Nerd for providing our music. Buzz Viral Marketing runs our social media, and legal services were handled by Trezanae M. Atkins. If you like what you heard, please feel free to join us every Wednesday for another fake-ass book club. Cheers.
Thank you guys for listening. You can check us out at thefabpodcast.com. Please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast wherever you're listening right now. We want to hear from you. Come put it in our life. Thanks again, and until next time, peace, love, and the Fake Ass Book Club. We out.
I can't believe we did it.
We did it, friend. We nailed it. It's 12:44 and we nailed it.
Oh my God. All
Feels
right. I'm
good.
out of
Feels
here.
good. I'm out too, friend. I'll see you tomorrow.
Good night.
Bye.
Before we go, we must give thanks to Urban Nerd for providing our music. Buzz Viral Marketing runs our social media, and legal services were handled by Trezanae M. Atkins. If you like what you heard, please feel free to join us every Wednesday for another fake-ass book club. Cheers.
Thank you guys for listening. You can check us out at thefabpodcast.com. Please subscribe, rate, and review our podcast wherever you're listening right now. We want to hear from you. Come put it in our life. Thanks again, and until next time, peace, love, and the Fake Ass Book Club. We out.